Right, get it all. So moving ahead with Surah 24, Surah An Nur, right? Surah 24, right? This is light, right? Remember we're talking about moving from darkness into light, meaning the dark aspects of the world, right? Just to make a point and reinforce a point, when I say darkness to light, this doesn't apply to what skin color, superficial things of the world like skin color, ethnicity, whatever. When I talk about darkness and light have nothing to do with skin color and these things. It just is a metaphor used to describe certain aspects of the world that we live in that has nothing to do with the actual literal color, black, right, or dark, right? It is talking about the unacceptable things, meaning that the unacceptable behaviors, right? We mentioned things like pedophilia, human trafficking, these things which has nothing to do with all these kidnapping races. These things have nothing to do with what? Your race, ethnicity. They are all ethnicities involved in these kind of activities, and this is what we are talking about, right? We're talking about from moving from dark aspects of the world into light, meaning righteous behavior, right? So point number one, to refrain from committing sexual intercourse outside of commitment or marriage, right? That's one thing that you are to do, or you should find yourself doing. I'm not forcing anything down anybody's throat. I'm just saying to avoid consequences later down the road in your life, to avoid doing these things, right? Right. So refrain from things like slander and all others. Allah warns you against returning. If you used to do these things in the past, Allah warns about returning to the likes of this conduct, right? These things including backbiting others, gossiping about others. Like I said, there's a difference between venting. You can talk to somebody, find somebody to talk to, people to talk to, groups to talk to, whatever. That's different from actually slandering, backbiting, or gossiping others, right? We talk about this in previous videos, or maltreating others without a cause, right? So you treat someone, say domestic violence, these kind of things that has been going on, harassments, these electronic harassments, all these kind of things that we're referring to, right? Refrain from maltreating people without cause, right? You don't have a reason, say self-defense or something, you don't have a reason to maltreat another person, do not do it, right? Allah warns against returning to the likes of conducts like this, right? Such acts are clearly defined in the book as a form of immorality, right? If not for the favor of Allah upon you and His mercy, not one of you would have been pure, would have had another chance in life to return to righteousness after performing evil deeds of the past, right? But Allah purifies whom He wills and is all hearing and knowing, right? Let not those of virtue among you and wealth swear to not give aid to relatives and needy. Meaning, just simple. This is just another fancy way of saying to donate if you can, if you're in a position to do so, to donate wealth and so on to amongst you who are in need. Good people are declared innocent. So eventually, if people slander you, lie on your name and whatever, eventually God will bring these things to light and your name will be cleared, right? Certain things that you may be waiting for clarity on, but sometimes God closes certain chapters and so on without the need of having to go through certain things, right? So not to worry if you had to go through these types of experiences in the past, right? Your character would be cleared from certain events and certain situations that you were previously unclear about, that you unsettling situations that you were previously unclear about, right? So the book talks about not entering other houses other than your own. Remember, I made a video in the past talking about abandoned houses, and I made the point that this actually contributes when they say to not enter houses not belonging to you. Like if there's an abandoned house for however much years and there's nobody living in it, these things are actually contributing to injustice, these verses like this, by saying to not to enter it, right? But actually is in this chapter in the book is saying that there's no blame upon you for entering houses not inhabited, right? For the sake of your convenience. So the book says that due to that, right, if you are to if there's an uninhabited house for years, right, and there's people on the streets, that not making sense, right? That doesn't make sense. So you are free to inhabit homes, right, that is of convenience to you once it is not inhabited for a lengthy period of time, right? There's no blame upon you for that. So if you now we are talking about houses that are habited, that have people residing in the households now, right? You are not to enter these houses without consent, right? So this is to avoid things like stealing, theft, robbery, all these things. You are not to enter houses other than your own houses. Well, we're talking about houses that are already inhabited, right? Right, and when you enter these houses, you greet appropriately, ascertain welcome and greet the inhabitants appropriately, right? Greet them with a greeting, a kind greeting, a greeting of God, a good greeting, a righteous greeting, right? The book talks about, right, the book talks about telling both men and women, right, men and women, which who are both responsible for upholding righteousness in society, is not just one gender, right? Both genders are actually have equal part to play when it comes to maintaining what is called in Eastern religion and so on, it's called dharma, which is righteousness, right? Both genders have equal role to play in maintaining what is known as dharma or righteousness, right? When it comes to this world and maintaining righteousness in the world, right? So the book talks about telling men and women to what? When they say reduce your vision, what it means, not your physical vision, not your vision as in you see it in the world, right? You reduce your vision when it comes to not looking at the things. You are not excessively fixating on the things of the world that you're not supposed to excessively fixate on in a relationship. Lower your gaze when it comes to other men or women out there, right? You're on a particular path, you're preparing your life to for the hereafter life, or to exit earth or whatnot, right? You focus your vision, right, on that of God, and that of not fixating on worldly adornments and beauty. You're taking in somebody's message. You don't taking somebody's message because of how they're looking, right? You're taking, so if you find yourself doing this, find another teacher, right? So you look at a video to take in the message, right, and not for the sake of somebody looks, right? Of course, somebody might have certain personality traits or characteristics about them that make them more appealing to look at, right, than finding other teachers, right? We're trying to avoid this in the first place. But if that is your learning style, right, certain characters with certain people with certain personality traits who you learn better from, or your children learn better from, then so be it, right? That's all part of human characteristics and personalities and stuff, right? So right, so simply to not make that above the message itself, right? Not make fun and joy and these kind of things above taking in what the actual message of the video is, right? So that's what, so lower your gaze when it comes to worldly adornment, and not exposing, meaning not excessively wearing what too much of remaining simple in your life, right? Not excessively adorning yourself and portraying yourself on social media as this great whatever and all these things, right? And refraining from excessive adornments, right? The book talks about for Muslims in terms of wrapping their heads over their chest, and this is also a practice in eastern parts of the world as well, meaning the wearing of a head covering, hijab, urni or whatnot is called, right? This is a practice that we have most of us, a lot of us, right, have moved away from, and for good reason. It is not anything that has to do with actual literal righteousness per se, but is more descended from tradition. It's traditionally based, it's historically based, right? Some people, and in the Islamic world and Hindu world and so on, people do it as a form of modesty, right? That's fine, right? The problem is that when you take the hijab or whatnot, and you take the hijab and you wear it as a what? style, fashion, right? That's become a problem. It no longer serves the purpose it was intended to serve, which is modesty, and which is to not expose yourself, right, to people who you are not supposed to expose it to, right? It becomes a fashion statement instead, or hey, look at my beauty when you post and everything on TikTok, posting your new hijab, posting your new adorned hijab and so on TikTok, and becomes a boastful form of personality and adornment rather than the modesty that it is intended for you to carry out, right? So those of you who abide by this, right, is to wrap a portion of your head covers over your chest and not expose your adornment or your beauty, right, except to your husbands, your fathers, their sons, their husbands' sons, their brothers' sons, their sisters' sons, their women, right, or males having no physical desire, right? So these are the people you are allowed to, if you to not wear hijab around, right? The book is listed in 31, verse 31, right? The persons who you are allowed to not wear hijab around, right? If you are female, right, Muslim female, right, around family members, you can not wear your hijab, or males not having any physical desire towards you, or sexual desire towards you, right? The book is saying, and this is the males over there, to never, right? You should not compel girls or women into prostitution, right? So we have to create a society where their employment, or either whether you at home or you work on the outside, right, there is a proper space for you in society. There's a righteous space for you in society, right? There's a righteous space for women in society, and to do away with what we call jobs, because these things aren't really jobs, right? These are underhanded way of earning our income, right? That has to do with lust, that has to do with sexual activity outside of that which is right. So creating a society where there's a righteous space, right, for women and women who have children and so on, that they have a means to make money outside, not having to turn to, right, not having to turn to these kinds of activities in order to earn an income so that you can feed your child, right? So this is what the obligation is on women and men who are not into that, to help others to come out, right, by way of encouraging them, one or whatever, if you have access to that realm of life, right, to help pull out women from those aspects of society, right? Of course, those who are in that have to want to come out of it as well, right? So 35, verse 35 talks about Allah being the light of the heavens and earth, right? The example of his light, the book says, like a niche, right? A niche is a small space in the universe that you carve out for yourself, right? A niche is a small space, right, that you carve out for yourself in the universe, right? There are niche in terms of business and so on, where something is uniquely you, right? Something is uniquely you, and you form a business based on it, or you do a piece of writing based on something, or something that is just uniquely you, right? A small part of the universe that is just uniquely you, right? So the book talks about an example of Allah's light being like a niche, right, which is a small light in the universe, right? A small light in a dark place, right? The lamp is within glass, the glass as if it were a pearly white star, lit from the oil of a blessed olive tree, neither of the east nor west, right? Whose oil will almost glow, even if untouched by fire, light upon light, right? So Allah guides to his light whom he wills, right? So this is just a little poetic description of experiencing the light, right? The light of Allah, right? 37 talks about allowing neither commerce nor sale, business nor sale, to distract you from the remembrance of Allah, right? Allowing neither, if you're in business or you are in commerce, right, if you're in trade, right, to not allow anything to distract you from the remembrance of Allah, right? Those who disbelieve, their deeds are like a mirage in a lowland, which a thirsty one thinks is water, until when he comes to it, he finds nothing but Allah before him, right? I'll read that again. Their deeds, those who have disbelieved, their deeds are like a mirage in the lowland, which a thirsty one thinks is water, right? So you go to find water, right? And when you go to find water, right, you realize that there is nothing. There is actually nothing, right? There is only Allah, right? The book is saying to well, 40 is another poetic piece, right? It talks about being in the unfathomable sea, right, covered by waves and so on, right, and Allah being that light in the midst of a very, very dark place, right? Do you not see that Allah drives the clouds? He brings them together, he makes them into a mass, and the rain emerges from within it. He sends down from the sky mountains of clouds, within which is hail, and he strikes with it whom he wills, and avert from it whom he wills, right? Allah alternates the night and day. Indeed, there's a lesson for those who have vision. Distinct verses have been sent down for you, and Allah guides whom he will to a straight path, right? Right, so hypocrites say that we have believed in Allah and know of his messenger, right? And then you turn away from it, right? So this is what hypocrites do. You learn of Allah and his messenger, right? And then you avert yourself from it, or you turn away from it, or you allow yourself to be averted from it, right? So the book is saying that Allah, because Prophet Muhammad is a final prophet, right? If you were to come in this age, right? If you were to come in contact with this message, right, to allow yourself to stick with it, right? If you were to come in contact with this message, Prophet Muhammad being the final prophet, right? And if you were to come in contact with this message, the message of the prophet, right, or the message of the Quran, to allow it to stick with you and to stay with you, and do not allow yourself to be averted from it, right? Those who have obedience to Allah and fear Allah, meaning fear and consequences, and are conscious of him, those who are conscious, they are attainers of righteousness, attainers of Jannah, what is called attainers of paradise, right? Allah has promised those who have believed among you and done righteous deeds that he will surely grant them succession or authority upon earth, and just as he granted it to those before, right? And he will surely establish for them their way of life, or their religion, right, which he has preferred for them, right? So Allah allows in the book what he makes known what is preferable in terms of your actions, right? Your actions, how to conduct yourselves and so on in the world, right? And this has a lot to do with what? Modesty being best, modesty of character, modesty of self being best for you. So the book talks about being able to eat and eat freely in your own homes, right? The houses of your mothers, your houses of your brothers, the houses of your sisters, your fathers, brothers, houses of your relatives, basically, right? There's no blame upon you whether you eat separately or together. I mean, and there's freedom in your homes, right? In your homes and homes of your relatives, right? Right, the book talks also about coming together, right? People coming together with common interests, and this is in the interest of Islam, and to further share the message and so on, right? The book talks about meeting together with those of common interest to share the message of Allah, right? It says, do not make the calling of the messenger up among yourselves as a call of one of you to another, right? So this talks about not making any messenger, any person, it basically says to serve Allah, right? You have to serve truth, which is Allah, right? And not allow your calling to be to each other necessarily, right? So meaning that you do not serve or worship each other, right? That's what it means. Do not allow the call of one of you to another, meaning that you're not serving. You're not actually serving other messengers, right? All the messengers actually serve truth or serve Allah, right? And by aligning yourself with the teachings, you're actually serving Allah, serving truth, right? So unquestionably to Allah belongs whatever is in the heavens and earth. Already He knows that upon which you stand, right? Meaning your position in the world, the basis for how you act, right? Allah already knows the basis for your conduct, right? And if for a temporary period of time you are not performing that which you are supposed to perform, right? By virtue, by standard of what people are telling you are supposed to do at this moment in time, and you are not doing it, Allah already knows the basis, right? Meaning the reasons for why you are not acting in a particular way, not carrying out certain things that you are being told to do, right? Allah already knows the basis, your position in the world, and where you're coming from regarding certain things that you do and certain things that you don't do, right? And you will be returned to Him, and He will inform you of what you have done, right? Allah is the knower of all.